Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Monday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. A big fire in Lockwood today put fire crews and resources to the test.
Tonight, part of a Lockwood recycling plant destroyed after flames devoured at least one building and caused more than $1 million in damage.
Took those fire crews more than 5 hours to completely douse the fire.
Q2 Zoe Zandora was on scene where a lack of water meant Lockwood fire crews and assisting agencies were forced to bring everything they could to fight it.
This building has a lot of fuels and oils and such on the floor, a lot of different things they use to treat the metal, and you're seeing the result of it.
Firefighters responded to a fire at the Pacific Recycling Building in Lockwood around noon on Monday. Flames and smoke filled the air as the fire blazed for more than 2 hours, likely causing more than $1 million in damage and destroying one building at the Lockwood plant.
Use what they call master streams. That's large diameter hose, 2.5 and larger. We also had both the ladder truck from Billings and our ladder truck set up. And those things pump between 500 and 1,000 gallons a minute. Those tenders only hold 3,000 gallons apiece, so that was another big challenge.
And the blaze was a challenge to battle because of water access, Staley says.
Closest hydrant, as you can see, we're using the shuttle. And if it not for the help from Shepherd and Laurel and Billings and even the airport, yeah, we would have no water. 6
tender engines responded to the fire, the most, Staley said, he has ever seen at one fire in his 4-decade career. One male employee was injured but declined transport. Staley says the fire was likely caused by heated metal materials that were being transported on a conveyor belt from one building to another, the fire growing quickly.
Probably not going to save much. It had a really good start before we got here, and lack of water is kind of a tough thing for us to overcome.
In Lockwood, Zoe Zandora, MTN News.
All right, thanks, Zoe. Now we're told the flames were finally put out before 5 o'clock today.
Well, the city of Billings is short by about $2 million in its general and public safety funds in 2020. That means that the city cannot afford to continue paying police and firefighters to keep the city safe.
Well, the money coming in from taxpayers isn't keeping up with the cost to operate the police and fire departments. Q2's Mitch Laggy is tracking the Billings City Council and its continuing talks about how to fund public safety in the future. Mitch.
Well, Russ and Jeanelle, council members, city staff, and the police and fire department heads all met tonight to continue those public safety talks. A portion of the conversation tonight focused on how the police and fire departments could define a set of goals to show the public a tangible increase in safety. For example, Police Chief Rich St. John mentioned that the police department could set a goal to reduce violent crime by 25% by a certain date. Then, numbers could be compared side to side to hopefully show a reduction in violent crime. This may also show the public that their investment was worthwhile. And as for what the city wants to buy, staff identified immediate and 5-year needs for the city departments, including the hiring of 36 police officers in the immediate needs and 15 more in the 5-year needs. Some council members support asking the public to pay for those immediate and 5-year needs. Others think the city should find other ways to make money instead of raising property taxes.
I think there's a little bit too much in here. I think that some of we're not seeing enough additional revenue or sources or from the city on their side. So I think we need to see more of that in order to be able to support this fully through the 5-year and the immediate needs.
And as the meeting tonight was only a work session, no final decisions were made. However, the council is looking to move forward with some sort of public safety solution, whether it be a levy on the ballot or the creation of a public safety district at some point in 2020. Russ and Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Mitch.
And remember, tomorrow is Election Day, so if you haven't yet, get those ballots into your county election office before 8 p.m.
And we'll have full coverage right here tomorrow night at 10 and, of course, online at ktvq.com.
Well, thieves have rendered a Livingston fire crew incapable of fighting flames. On the way back from assisting with the California wildfires, essential equipment was stolen from the team's truck in Idaho Falls. MTN's Cody Boyer has more on what happened.
It doesn't only hurt us, our department, but it hurts everybody else.
Truck Commander Wyatt Adler, EMT Cheyenne Bray, and first-year firefighter Dale Bush spent over a week and a half fighting the Kincaid Fire, which has burned more than 77,000 acres so far. I caught up with them on their return trip home hours after thieves struck.
If we would have gotten to California and this stuff was missing down there, there's no way we would have been allowed on the fire.
Adler says over $1,500 worth of critical gear was stripped away from their truck, including personal protection equipment, fire bags for shelters, and more.
We've actually had to take ourselves off of the active resource board for national emergencies because now we're not equipped to keep ourselves safe.
Idaho Falls police arrested a man parked nearby for drug-related charges, but as of now, it is not known if he is connected. The crew says it's like losing a life-saving arm.
It feels like your whole world gets taken away. You know, your equipment to save lives, to do your job, is gone.
My pack had all of my medical equipment in it. I mean, on our way home today, if we come across a car accident, I mean, I've got my skills in my head, but I don't have a lot to help anybody anymore.
So while Idaho Falls police investigate, Wyatt hopes eyes stay open.
I hope whoever took it realizes, hey, that we messed up more than just their lives. We messed up countless of other people's.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
We've also learned that a company has stepped up and offered to replace the department's Kestrel fire tracking unit for free.
Well, we now know the identity of a man killed at the Tigertown Motel in Ballantyne over the weekend.
Yellowstone County authorities say 53-year-old Carl Archer Jr. was the victim of homicide. Records indicate Archer had a Billings address in the past. However, investigators believe he'd been living as a transient for months. At this time, his cause of death is being withheld.
Over the weekend, 32-year-old James Eater was arrested and booked on homicide charges related to this crime.
In Wyoming, a suspect is in custody after a hunter discovered a body on private property south of Cody Saturday. The victim is identified as a resident from southeast Wyoming.
Now, the death is being investigated as a homicide, but no other details about the crime are being released. Also on Saturday, hunters discovered possible human remains in a remote area near West Rosebud Lake in the Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness.
Now, the hunters found several items of clothing, bones, and a shotgun on Saturday, not near any established trails. The Stillwater County Sheriff says the condition of the bones and other items indicate that they have likely been there for several years.
Authorities say there is no indication of foul play, and at this point they cannot identify the age or gender of those remains. The items and bones will go to the state crime lab to figure out who they belong to.
All right, let's turn to the weather, Bob. Probably best just to have your whole wardrobe ready to go this week.
Yeah, because it's going to be hot, it's going to be cold, hot, and snow, the whole 9 yards. Let me show you what we're talking about. As you can see here, we have a warm front tonight. It's 32 degrees right now, and that could be our overnight low because as that warm front moves across the state overnight, it's going to warm things up for us a little bit. And it's also going to help push some of that snow showers you see that came down from Canada over in towards northeastern Montana and into parts of North Dakota. But that warm front is tied to a Arctic cold front, and then that Arctic cold front pushes back down here by Wednesday morning. Look at that, 1:30 in the morning, we're looking at snow moving all the way through the Billings area, and then probably by sometime Wednesday afternoon, that thing moves on, high pressure moves in behind that, and we actually start warming up again. How much snow are we talking about? Well, it looks like Billings could see maybe 1 to 2 inches by Wednesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, maybe as much as 2 to 4 inches of snow. We'll have more on that coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, House committees leading the impeachment inquiry are now releasing transcripts from closed-door depositions. The documents released so far detail how the former ambassador to Ukraine was ousted from her job. Tonight, an ally of President Trump called for the unmasking of the whistleblower at the center of this probe. Nicole Killian reports.
Stumping in Kentucky for the state's Republican governor, President Trump stood in front of supporters wearing T-shirts saying, "Read the transcript," in reference to his call with the leader of Ukraine.
With last week's vote, the far left has declared war on American democracy itself.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul called on the media to out the whistleblower whose complaint triggered the impeachment probe.
We also now know the name of the whistleblower. Do your job and print his name.
A lawyer for the whistleblower fired back, saying a member of Congress who calls for the identity of any lawful whistleblower to be publicly revealed against their wishes disgraces the office they hold. Monday, 4 White House officials who were subpoenaed for closed-door depositions here on Capitol Hill failed to show.
This will only further add to the body of evidence on a potential obstruction of Congress charge against the president.
House committees began releasing transcripts of closed-door testimony, including from former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch.
The president of Ukraine was not a fan of hers either.
Yovanovitch told congressional investigators once she was removed from her post, she was shocked to read the president himself called her bad news and warned she would go through some things. Yovanovitch was asked, "Did you feel threatened?" "Yes, I was wondering, is there an active investigation against me in the FBI? I don't know." More transcripts are expected to be released on Tuesday. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
An associate of the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, now says he is willing to cooperate with Congress in that inquiry.
Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, the early winter weather is no joke for the ski mountains, but you still have to be cautious. Find out our avalanche outlook.
Plus, later, when you take a Broadway violinist and pair him with Dogs in Need, it's beautiful harmony.
And later in sports, if you haven't seen it yet, get ready for the play of the high school football season and make sure you've got the tissues handy.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.